In 1917, Pierre Cartier, grandson of the founder of the Cartier Jewelry House, walked into a 6-story mansion on Fifth Avenue, New York, with a proposal that sounded insane. He wanted to buy the entire building with a necklace. The mansion belonged to Morton Freeman Plant, one of the wealthiest railroad tycoons in America. His wife, Maisie, had recently visited Cartier's showroom and fallen in love with a double-strand natural pearl necklace. 128 perfectly matched pearls, 55 on one strand, 73 on the other. Its price tag? $1 million. In 1917 money, that would be roughly $24 million today. Plant was already thinking of leaving. Fifth Avenue was changing. What had once been a quiet neighborhood of mansions was becoming a commercial strip, with shops and offices creeping north. So Cartier made his move. He offered the pearl necklace, plus $100 in cash, for the entire mansion. Plant accepted. It was one of the most famous trades in the history of luxury. Cartier got a 6-story marble building on the most prestigious shopping street in the world. Maisie got the pearls, and at the time, most people thought Maisie got the better deal, because back then, natural pearls weren't just expensive. They were the single most valuable gem on Earth, more valuable per carat than diamonds. But here's what nobody in that room could have predicted. Within a few decades, those pearls would lose almost everything. Why? Because of a noodle maker's son on the other side of the world. But why pearls ruled the world for such a long time? To understand why pearls were so valuable, you have to understand how rare they were. A natural pearl forms when a tiny irritant, usually a parasite, not a grain of sand like most people think, slips inside an oyster's soft tissue. The oyster can't push it out, so instead it starts coating it. Layer after layer of a substance called nacre, a mix of calcium carbonate crystals and an organic protein called conchiolin. These layers build up concentrically like the rings of a tree over months and years. The result is a pearl. But the odds of it happening are terrible. Only about 1 in 10,000 wild oysters produces a pearl. And of those, only a tiny fraction are round, lustrous, and large enough to be worth anything, which meant that to fill a single necklace, you needed to harvest millions of oysters. And that harvest was brutal. In the Persian Gulf, the world's richest pearl source for centuries, divers would descend 10 to 30 meters on a single breath, dozens of times a day, from sunrise to sunset. They wore bone nose clips and leather finger guards, no breathing equipment, no goggles. They faced sharks, jellyfish, and stingrays. Many went blind, many drowned. All of this for what? A biological accident inside a mollusk. But that accident produced something that required no cutting, no polishing, no human refinement. A pearl came out of the oyster, finished and perfect, and that made it feel almost miraculous. For thousands of years, pearls were the ultimate symbol of wealth. Cleopatra reportedly dissolved a pearl in wine to win a bet. Its estimated value in Roman currency, the equivalent of about $9 million. The Roman general Vitellius financed an entire military campaign by selling one pearl earring that belonged to his mother. In the courts of Europe, India, and Persia, pearls were the jewel of royalty. Nothing else came close. So when Pierre Cartier traded a pearl necklace for a Fifth Avenue mansion, nobody thought twice. The pearls were worth it. Maybe more. So how did the era of natural pearls come to an end? By a man named Kokichi Mikimoto. He was born in 1858 in Toba, a small coastal town in Japan. His father ran an udon noodle shop. As the eldest son, Mikimoto dropped out of school at 13 to help support the family, selling vegetables on the side. But Toba was a pearl diving town, and Mikimoto grew up watching the ama, female freedivers, bring oysters up from the seabed. He noticed something that stuck with him. The pearls they found were almost always imperfect, misshapen, dull, too small. The beautiful ones were vanishingly rare. And when he attended an exhibition in 1878, he saw just how much those perfect pearls were worth. He started asking a question that nobody had been able to answer. What if you could make an oyster produce a pearl on command? In 1888, he borrowed money and started an oyster farm in Ago Bay with his wife, Uma. For 5 years, he experimented. He tried inserting tiny objects into oysters, pieces of shell, glass beads, grains of sand, hoping to trigger the nature coating process. Most attempts killed the oysters, the rest produced nothing. Then, on July 11, 1893, Mikimoto opened one of his oysters and found it, a pearl. It was hemispherical, only half round, attached to the shell, but it was unmistakably a pearl, and it had been created by human intervention. He had done what no one had done before, but a half pearl wasn't enough. He needed perfectly round, free-floating pearls that could rival natural ones. That took another 12 years of trial and error, and when he finally cracked it, using a technique involving a small bead of mother-of-pearl inserted into the oyster's mantle tissue, he had something that was, to the naked eye, indistinguishable from a natural pearl. The pearl industry did not react well. When Mikimoto's cultured pearls hit the European market in the 1920s, the natural pearl dealers were furious. Their argument was simple. These aren't real pearls. They're manufactured. They're fake. In 1921, the French Chamber of Commerce took Mikimoto to court in Paris, trying to prove that cultured pearls were imitations and shouldn't be sold as pearls at all. The case dragged on for 3 years. Scientists were brought in. They examined cultured pearls and natural pearls under microscopes and could find no structural difference. The nacre was the same. The luster was the same. The chemistry was the same. In 1924, the court ruled in Mikimoto's favor. Cultured pearls were real pearls. They just had a different origin. But that ruling did something far more devastating than any lawsuit could. It opened the floodgates. Mikimoto scaled up production massively. His farms in Japan could now produce thousands of round, beautiful pearls per year, in controlled conditions with predictable results. No more diving to deadly depths. No more 1 in 10,000 odds. Just science and patience. The effect on the natural pearl market was catastrophic. Prices didn't just dip, they collapsed. A commodity that had been the most precious gem on Earth for millennia was suddenly available. Cultured pearls sold for 25 to 75% less than natural ones, and most buyers couldn't tell the difference. By the 1930s, the pearl diving economies of the Persian Gulf were crumbling. Entire communities that had sustained themselves on pearl diving for centuries were suddenly without a livelihood. Then oil was discovered in Bahrain in 1932, and within a generation, the pearl diving tradition that had defined the Gulf for thousands of years was essentially gone. And Mikimoto? In 1932, during the Great Depression, he publicly shoveled 720,000 of his own pearls into a furnace and burned them. The gathered pearl dealers shouted, "Banzai!" It was a calculated move. By destroying supply, he drove pearl prices up by roughly 30% overnight. The noodle maker's son had become the pearl king. Remember that necklace? The one Pierre Cartier traded for a mansion on Fifth Avenue? After Maisie Plant died in 1956, the necklace went to auction at Park Bernay Galleries. It sold for $151,000. That's about 15% of what it had been worth 40 years earlier. The pearls that had once bought a building on the most expensive street in the world couldn't even buy an apartment in it. Meanwhile, the building? Cartier still owns it. Today, the mansion at 653 Fifth Avenue is assessed at approximately $173 million. It remains Cartier's flagship store, one of the most recognizable luxury addresses on the planet. So who actually won that trade? Morton Plant, the railroad tycoon who thought he was getting the better end of the deal, or Pierre Cartier, the jeweler who bet that a building would outlast a necklace. But the real question is bigger than that, because what happened to pearls exposes something uncomfortable about how we assign value. We think of gems as inherently precious. We think a diamond is valuable because it's a diamond, a pearl because it's a pearl. But pearls were never valuable because of what they were made of. Calcium carbonate is one of the most common minerals on Earth. They were valuable because they were rare, because people suffered and died to find them, because the odds were impossible. Mikimoto didn't change what a pearl is. He changed how many there are. And that was enough to destroy their value almost overnight. It makes you wonder what else we treasure not for what it is, but simply because it's hard to get. And what would happen to that value if someone figured out how to make it easy?